Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today because, man, we are tackling one of the most exciting shifts in the entire automotive world right now, the rise of the truly accessible electric vehicle. But look, we're not just going to sit here and read down a boring list of spec sheets. No way. We're going to approach this like a Hollywood casting director. Think about it. Finding the perfect EV for your daily commute, it's exactly like finding the right actor for a starring role. You need the right personality, the right skills, and that specific presence to match your everyday lifestyle. So I want you to ask yourself, which Hollywood personality perfectly matches your driving style? I know, it sounds a little crazy, right? But the philosophy behind how an automaker builds a car actually translates directly into a distinct personality. Today, we're going to look at three very different, totally accessible EVs and compare their underlying engineering to the familiar traits of some famous actors. Honestly, this is going to make understanding these complex technical philosophies so much easier and, well, just a lot more fun. All right, let's kick things off with the MG4 Electric, the dynamic go-kart. To really get the vibe of the MG4, you just have to think of Ryan Gosling. Now, Gosling isn't necessarily the flashiest, most over-the-top actor in Hollywood, but he is incredibly versatile. He can pivot from these intense action sequences to deep, introverted roles flawlessly. The MG4 is built on that exact same kind of solid foundation. It's got modern charm and a really dynamic soul. When this car is on the road, it commands attention through pure technical substance and a charisma that goes way, way beyond mere appearances. And here is the absolute core of that technical substance: 50-50. That is the nearly perfect weight distribution of the MG4. Now, in the world of automotive engineering, achieving a 50-50 weight distribution is literally the holy grail for handling. It completely transforms this accessible EV into this agile electric go-kart. If you're a driving enthusiast who absolutely loves tackling a winding back road, well, that 50-50 ratio is exactly why the MG4 is going to speak your language. The secret to how they actually achieve that balance is the MSP, or Modular Scalable Platform. This is a dedicated EV architecture, which means, it wasn't just some gas car hastily retrofitted with batteries. And crucially, it features rear-wheel drive. Having rear-wheel drive in this specific, affordable price bracket, that is incredibly rare. It's an approach that is completely oriented around performance and driving pleasure. Oh, and it's also worth noting that on the long-range versions of this platform, they use NMC, that's nickel, manganese, cobalt, batteries to really deliver that necessary punch and range. But like any actor, our Ryan Gosling of cars definitely has a few quirks, and there's a real trade-off here. On the positive side, you get this unbeatable, highly communicative steering and a brilliant dynamic chassis. It just handles beautifully. On the flip side, though, you kind of have to deal with a somewhat immature infotainment system and some pretty invasive lane-keeping software. The advanced driver assistance systems, the ADAS, they get criticized a lot for having a clunky interface. So basically, it's a mechanically excellent car that's just slightly held back by a less refined digital experience. Next up, we have the BYD Dolphin, the tech launch. So if the MG4 is your performance-oriented choice, the Dolphin is the all-rounder. It's a premium appliance designed for the pragmatic driver. Our celebrity match here? None other than Keanu Reeves. The Dolphin is rational, it's reassuring, and it's technologically advanced. Kind of like Keanu's association with all those futuristic sci-fi worlds. Yet, despite all the heavy tech, it remains incredibly balanced, gentle, and pragmatic. It offers a really solid, comfortable, and highly curated tech experience without a single drop of unnecessary excess. A huge part of that reassuring nature actually comes from their Blade battery. BYD is famous for extreme vertical integration, meaning they produce almost everything in-house. Their Blade battery uses LFP, or lithium iron phosphate technology, and this specific chemistry is super renowned for its extreme safety and longevity. Built on their e-Platform 3.0 with front-wheel drive, the entire focus of the Dolphin is just on delivering a balanced, highly comfortable, and extremely safe driving package. But hey, practical absolutely does not mean boring. The Dolphin has a genuine killer feature, a rotating central display. It's literally like a crazy design concept that somehow actually made it into production. With just the touch of a button, the screen physically rotates, magically switching from a horizontal layout, which is perfect for media, to a vertical layout, which is incredibly useful for mapping and navigation. It's just a brilliant little touch that totally elevates the silent, worry-free, tech lounge feel of the cabin. Once again, though, we've got to look at the trade-offs. The Dolphin gives you superior suspension, fantastic sound isolation, and interior materials that are honestly a step above its European rivals at the exact same price point. It is undeniably the most comfortable car in its class. But in exchange for that premium, isolated cabin vibe, you trade away the sporty, dynamic driving feel. The steering and chassis are definitely softer. This thing is built for a relaxed cruise, definitely not a track day. Moving on to our third contender, the Hyundai Inster, the fitting art. Now for our third and final actor, the urban smart crossover derived from the Korean Casper. I absolutely love this comparison. Seriously. The Hyundai Inster is the Danny DeVito of the EV world. Think about it. DeVito is iconic, he's highly versatile, practical, and despite his compact physical size, he completely fills whatever space he's in with his contagious vitality. The Inster is exactly like that. It doesn't rely on massive horsepower, it relies on an incredibly strong personality that completely dominates the urban chaos and adapts to literally any situation brilliantly, despite its tiny stature. And when we say tiny, we really mean it. 3.8 meters. That is the extraordinarily short length of the Inster. By utilizing an adapted A-segment platform with front-wheel drive, Hyundai has somehow managed to pack a tremendous amount of utility into a footprint that makes tight city parking an absolute breeze. And this brilliantly illustrates why we like to call it the urban Swiss Army knife. Hyundai pulled off a pretty incredible feat of engineering within its 2.58-meter wheelbase. You've got sliding rear seats, but even better, the front and rear seats can fold completely flat. You can essentially turn the inside of this tiny 3.8-meter car into a single, continuous flat surface. The modularity, the literal art of fitting things into the space, is just phenomenal. It's a real game changer for city dwellers. However, the Inster definitely has its own specific limitations. It comes equipped with an NMC battery, but let's be real, its domain is strictly the city. It offers unbeatable parking agility and urban versatility, but take it out on the open highway, you are definitely going to notice poor high-speed performance, noticeable aerodynamic wind noise, and a pretty sharp drop in battery efficiency. It's the ultimate city car for sure, but it definitely struggles when you push it onto the open road. All right, let's bring it all together. The spec showdown, the final verdict. So, we've met our three actors. Now it's time for the casting director's final review. When we bring these philosophies together side by side, the differences become crystal clear. The BYD Dolphin uses the E-Platform 3.0 with front-wheel drive and an LFP battery, which perfectly aligns with its focus on pure comfort and software integration. The MG4, on the other hand, steps out with its dedicated MSP platform, rear-wheel drive, and NMC battery, squarely targeting driving dynamics, chassis balance, and performance. And finally, the Hyundai Inster takes an adapted A-segment platform with front-wheel drive and an NMC battery, prioritizing extreme space efficiency and internal modularity for the city. So what does this all mean for you? The crucial point is this synthetic verdict. Which one actually belongs in your driveway? Well, it entirely depends on your lifestyle. If driving pleasure is your absolute priority and you can forgive a less polished digital interface, you've got to choose the MG4. If you want a polyvalent daily driver with the absolute best comfort, safety tech, and premium feel, the BYD Dolphin is your pick. And if you live in a dense, historic city center where parking is an absolute nightmare but you still need incredible cargo versatility, choose the Hyundai Inster. Thank you for your curiosity. Looking ahead. And with that, we've reached the end of our casting call. I want to explicitly thank you for your time today. We truly, truly appreciate your interest in our explainers, and we promise we will always do our absolute best to satisfy your curiosity and break down these complex subjects. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. Looking at the MG4, the Dolphin, and the Inster, we're really looking at three very different visions of tomorrow. So ask yourself, as technology evolves, will the ultimate future of accessible EVs be defined by the thrill of performance, the sanctuary of comfort, or the sheer, unmatched adaptability of space? Think about what truly matters most for the future of your own mobility. Until next time, keep learning, and thanks so much for joining us.